I would love to do we have a sounder for this? A top 5.
Oh.
High five.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Tom's
Top 5.
That is tremendous.
That's why Del Tufo's the best in the business with audio. Hold on, play it one more time. I need to hear it one more time.
High five.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Tom's
Top 5.
I mean, we even got your head on the graphic.
That's pretty good.
Unbelievable.
No, Mike didn't do that.
Is
part.
that
No, I
He-Man
didn't do
or is
I don't edit.
that
The graphic.
Vacation?
That's vacation.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's usually Rich's
That's
head
what I
on
figured. All
that.
right, so what I want to do, I'm going to break it down. The 8 divisions in the NFL, so I'm really not leaving a whole lot of people out here. But I want to give you my top 5 division races to watch. Based on everything, not just the draft, but just as I sit here right now, the 5 that I am most excited about. I'm going to start out at number 5 in the NFC South. A division that's been kicked around and beaten down because, let's be honest, it's been a race to 8 wins a lot of years.
Really bad.
It's not strictly driven by the drama with the Falcons, but it is in part. Because obviously when you sign Kirk Cousins to a $100 million contract, immediately you go, okay, well, they've been the team that's been a quarterback away. Now they got the quarterback. Why shouldn't they be competing? But when Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot go to the press conference after taking another quarterback at number 8, Michael Penix Jr., and they say repeatedly, we're never going to be in this position again. We won't be in this position again. And they repeat it, we won't. We won't. They're saying, we're winning this division right now. We're a playoff team right now. We're going to be nowhere close. And they haven't been in the playoffs in a while. So the Falcons all of a sudden have put that type of pressure on themselves in a variety of different ways. In a division where Baker Mayfield returns to the Bucs. They got some new looks there. Some of their veteran players moving on. You've got the Panthers, who, for a variety of reasons, were the worst team, and it wasn't really close in the NFL. In 2023, new coaching staff. They went out and got Bryce Young a bunch of weapons in the draft. Xavier Legette, Jonathan Brooks, who should be healthy before the start of the season, Jatavion Sanders. They give him a new offensive philosophy. Dave Canales, who is a very positive guy, has worked with shorter quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield. I'm not saying the Panthers necessarily are a division-winning team this year, but it's a division that's wide open. And I don't want to leave out the Saints here, too. They've got a lot of the same parts in place as we move forward. But it'll be interesting to see. They were another team that was right there at the end in the playoff chase a year ago. So I'd say the NFC South,
Ooh, I like that.
number 5 on my list. And number 4, let's go to the AFC East. The Bills have ruled that division ever since the Patriots ruled that division. The Bills with a ton of turnover. It's not just the Stephon Diggs trade. I mean, they basically cut their whole secondary. They go out, they draft a wide receiver, Keon Coleman, who is going to have probably outsized expectations on him in terms of what he's able to do, especially after Gabe Davis also leaves that team. They went through some weird stuff last year. Stories about Sean McDermott firing Ken Dorsey within the season. And amidst all that and media furor and everything else, they played better. They played their best football down the stretch. They still clearly felt like some dynamics need to change around this team. I'm not saying they're more vulnerable this year, but they had to rally and get back in the division last year because the Dolphins have caught up. The Dolphins were banged up down the stretch in the season. Another year for Tua Tagovailoa in that offense. We know they got weaponry, they got speed all over the place. New defensive coordinator, Anthony Weaver, coming in there. The Patriots, it's going to be a growth process. Do we see Drake May this season? That'll be a storyline throughout the year. They're going to have their challenges, there's no doubt. And then, that guy Aaron Rodgers, the 4-time MVP winner, is back with the Jets, who draft Olu Fashanu in the first round, another offensive lineman in an offseason where they signed Tyron Smith and they signed John Simpson. They also brought in Mike Williams, another wide receiver here. We didn't get to see the Jets last year. They would probably, if you were listing the teams that I was most excited to see about in 2023, the Jets were number 1. I got 4 snaps.
Oh.
And he got hit on 2 of them and tore 1 Achilles.
The Jets were number 1?
Jets, of teams I would have been excited to see in 2023, absolutely.
Interesting.
How could they not? Aaron Rodgers going to that place, all the hype surrounding it. I mean, there was the biggest story in the NFL, Brockman. I know you're a Patriots fan, but were you completely under a rock on this thing? I wasn't really fired up for the Mac Jones Patriots going into last season.
Me neither. I was openly rooting for them to lose.
Chris thought Mac Jones was going to be Elway, bro.
the Jets
true.
were
No,
the
that's-
Jets were
I'm
on
just
paper
joking.
the
I'm
biggest
just
threat to the
joking.
Bills a year ago. That ended literally in week 1. Although they were competitive for like another 6 weeks after that.
I think the Falcons
The
have better
Dolphins were the
Super
team that
Bowl
rose
odds
up.
than the Jets right now.
What are the Jets Super Bowl odds?
27-1.
I can't advise you anything on that front.
I'm just saying.
We haven't seen it.
Just saying.
We haven't seen it. They had a lot of pressure.
You know,
There's no
Tom
doubt
can't-
about it.
You know, Tom can't comment
I
on
know,
these
but I'm
type
saying
of
the
things,
Falcons
man. Why
are
you keep bringing it
24-1.
up?
I just love how you keep dropping it in CNFL bite, but I'm very disciplined
I'm just going fishing.
over
He's
here
trying
when
to
I'm
get you
behind these
fired,
desks. I
Tom.
know
I'm
exactly
going
where it's going to
fishing.
come from.
Chargers 50
Right
to
there
1.
with Brockman. 50 to 1. Again, I cannot advise you on what bets to place here,
All right,
Brockman.
moving on.
You're going to keep yeah, exactly. Stop testing me. Number 3, division race. I'm interested to see NFC East.
Yeah.
The Cowboys.
100%.
Listen, Mike McCarthy is a very good and successful NFL head coach. They got better last year, as TJ knows very well as a Cowboys fan. They flopped in the playoffs. There's no other way to put it.
That's
They
par for
played
the
their
course.
worst game at the worst possible time, and they ran into a young Packers team that went in there and played like they had nothing to lose. And the Cowboys played like they had everything to lose. They just didn't play their best. But then go through the offseason. They lose their left tackle, their center, their running back, 2 of their pass rushers. Their middle linebacker has to retire because of a neck injury. They got a lot of stuff going on. And what did they do in free agency? They signed Eric Kendricks, and a couple of days ago, they brought back Ezekiel Elliott. That's it. Royce Freeman, too, I guess. They did very, very little. And so I know that the all-in thing has become this running joke, and Jerry said it, and then he's saying it over and over at the press conference, and Mike McCarthy's, like Kermit drinking the tea. It's just he's listening to it going, oh. I don't know why Jerry keeps saying that. But they're a team that, they want to pay Micah Parsons. They want to pay CeeDee Lamb. They want to pay Dak. Well, they haven't done it. And you took a division-winning team that should be a Super Bowl contender. There wasn't a lot added here. I'm not criticizing the strategy. I'm just saying they didn't really do a whole lot through the course of this offseason. The Eagles are a team that did a ton, changed out both their coordinators. They signed Saquon. They brought back Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They signed Bryce Huff. They just drafted corners with their first 2 picks. They got Vic Fangio there now on defense and Kellen Moore on offense. That's a ton of changes for a team that going into that San Francisco game last year where Big Dom has his run-in with was it Fred Warner? Dre Greenlaw? Who was it? It was one of the linebackers for the 49ers. They get into it on the sideline. And that was the game. I was like, what? In the airport, right? This was supposed to be the game of the year because I want to say the Eagles were 10-1. The 49ers might have been like 9-2. They're both like the top 2 teams in the NFC. I'm leaving a different game. I think I was in Cleveland or something. And so I'm like, I'm going to get to the airport, get to whatever, the TGI Fridays or whatever's in that airport there. I'm going to watch the second half of this game. And I get there and I'm like, what is happening? Like, there's really a fight being broken up. The Eagles are down 3 touchdowns all of a sudden. and from that point forward, just everything went sideways. Howie Roseman's always going to be aggressive, totally make over the roster, the coaching staff, everything on a team that was in the driver's seat for the number 1 pick in November of last year. So you take those 2 teams, the Commanders, I think that realistically, it's going to take a while. Mm-hmm. They don't, they traded both their pass rushers last year. You got a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels. The expectations are going to be high, but I think that, realistically, are they competing for the division this year? That might be a little bit beyond them. And then the Giants, another team that people thought, all right, do they just blow it up now? Daniel Jones, is he done? Well, they owe Daniel Jones $35 million, and nobody else is paying Daniel Jones $35 million. So he's going to make that from the Giants. He's going to get his opportunity here. And if that doesn't work, then probably next year. They're in that Shadur Sanders, Quinn Ewers type of a mix. Carson Beck type of a mix here. Yep. So I think that's a really intriguing division because the Cowboys should, by all metrics, be the favored team.
We still will.
But just with the environment around their moves here, they've kind of, in this weird way, created more pressure on themselves for what they didn't do than the Eagles have for all the things that they did. And truly looking on paper like they are all in.
And Tom, by the way, I'm pretty sure it was Applebee's that you were at in the.
It might have been Applebee's.
You were at Cleveland Airport, the Applebee's. You know exactly where I'm talking about, though, right? It's in that little rotunda, and you can either go way down here to try to find the one other restaurant, or you just
love Applebee's.
You're right there.
Even if you weren't there, you were at Applebee's.
Cowboys and Eagles, same odds to win the NFC East. Same.
What are the odds?
Plus 120.
And then I assume the Commanders are down and the Giants are even further down?
Giants and Commanders, 10-1.
Wait, what were the first 2?
Basically even.
At?
1-1.
Oh, 1-1.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Sorry, I thought you said 100-1.
No.
all of a sudden realizing I don't gamble, but I thought maybe I don't understand how any of this
None
works.
of us here do.
Number two.
I have a problem.
Number two most intriguing division race. NFC North. You've got
I thought this was
top
gonna
to
be number
bottom.
one.
This might be the best division. Now, again, I mentioned this yesterday. I said that a couple years ago about the AFC West. It ended up being an abject failure, and the Chiefs rolled like they
this
always do.
division is stacked.
But look at that! Look at that group of quarterbacks right there. Jared Goff. They're chanting his name throughout the draft in Detroit. They're coming off of a breakthrough season.
Detroit loves
They're
Jared
a couple
Goff.
of they're a couple of plays away, a couple of calls away from being in the Super Bowl last year. Yeah. Jordan Love and the Packers over the last, let's call it 6 weeks plus playoffs, were one of the best teams in football, and they had the 49ers beat. The Vikings bringing in J.J. McCarthy, who's now throwing to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and T.J. Hawkinson. I think that they're a fascinating team as well. And then the Bears with Caleb Williams, the number one pick, and all the weaponry around him. I mean, there's not a game between any of those teams you're going to see on the slate this year and be like, I'll catch that one later. I don't need to watch it. No, you're going to want to watch those games. So I think that division, listen, the Lions are the defending champs. Yep. You have to say the Lions are the favorite in the division. Yeah. You can easily make the case based on how the Packers finished that they should be right behind. They added Josh Jacobs. They drafted Marshawn Lloyd to add to that room. They drafted an offensive lineman in the first round, which they hope helps close the gap with David Bakhtiari. Moving on. I just think that division is going to be fantastic. And then number one, I'm going to do it to myself again.
Oh, you're doing it.
And we can roll it. We'll eventually have a mashup of me saying this every 2 years.
Whoa.
Number one's the AFC West.
Oh, not AFC North.
It's driven by the coaches.
Interesting.
It's driven by the fact that you have Jim Harbaugh, and the expectations are going to be, if they don't win the division, if they don't challenge the Chiefs, if they're not neck and neck at least to the end of the season, and you've got to think Week 18 on the NFL calendar when that comes out, Week 18, the game is Chargers-Chiefs that they slot in, and that might be the final game of the season. If they're not in that spot, if that game ends up being flexed out and is at 1 o'clock on the final day of the season, something's gone drastically wrong. And that's not to say that Joe Ortiz and Jim Harbaugh and company don't have work to do. They had a very top-heavy salary cap. They had to make some tough decisions. Khalil Mack took a cut. Joey Bosa took a cut. Keenan Allen got traded. Mike Williams got released. They are going to be a different-looking team in 2024. When you have Jim Harbaugh coming off a national title at Michigan and the instant turnaround he led with the 49ers, the expectation around that team, the national expectation in the media with the fans has to be they're here to take down the Chiefs. Sean Payton's in Denver. They've got a ways to go. That team's got some ground to make up. We'll see. If Bo Nix is as good as the Broncos think he is to take him at number 12, maybe they close that gap faster. But realistically, personnel-wise, they've got a little bit to go. And the fact that we're including Max Crosby in this graphic shows we have no idea who the hell the Raiders quarterback is going to be. That's going to be their big challenge. They were another team that finished last season hot. They played well under Antonio Pierce. A lot different, though, to take over mid-season and have that placebo effect. It's different. The vibe's different. Totally different deal. 17-game season, training camp. It's a grind. Will that same approach hold up with the players? Will Antonio Pierce hold the room for that long? Are they going to be good enough? They hired Luke Getsy as their offensive coordinator. I know that he got kicked around for the job that he did with the Bears. He was winning games last year with Tyson Bagent. He was winning games with Tyson Bagent against the Raiders, which is part of the reason that impressed them enough that they brought him in to be their OC. There's a long way to go in that division. I think that on paper you have to say it's the Chargers potentially challenging the Chiefs. What are the Chargers odds right now? AFC West.
Ooh, stand by. Chargers, AFC West odds plus 350. Chiefs are minus 230. Let me explain that. You have to bet $23 to only win 10. That's crazy.
Well, why would you ever bet against Patrick Mahomes? There's no reason, because in the end, they're going to figure it out.
Yeah,
Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo.
Yeah, seems foolish.
Those are the guys that matter there. But again, when you hire Jim Harbaugh, you're not doing that to say, hey, I hope we get to 10-7 and get a wild card spot. No, you're doing that to take down the king.
Yeah.
And Patrick Mahomes, since he got in the league, he's been in the AFC Championship game every single year. Hadn't played a road playoff game till last season. He is the best. Andy Reid is the best. They're the team you're trying to take down. If you're the Chargers, again, you had a bright young coach in Brandon Staley. Things went sideways for a variety of reasons last year. You bring in Jim Harbaugh because you want to eat with the big dogs. Bring all the pressure, bring all the expectations. Jim Harbaugh himself is going to have high expectations for that team. If they don't at least get to the final couple weeks of the season and they're in the division race, a lot of people are going to look at that as a failure. And that's what happens when you hire one of the highest profile, most successful coaches of his generation.
Do you think the league should do that right off the bat? Season opener, Chiefs at Chargers? Chargers at Chiefs?
I wouldn't put it past him.
Right off the gate.
I would think,
defending
again, I
champs,
judge these when I'm
here's
saying like
Jim
the division.
Harbaugh, let's go.
The division races to watch, it's what matchups is every single game going to matter? Is every single game you're going to want to be in front of the TV? They could put up any of these teams matching up, and it would be exciting. Yeah, it probably depends. Are they going to put them in Week 18? You usually don't want to have bookends in the schedule.
Right.
So would you rather have that game Week 18, or would you rather say go Broncos versus Chargers in Week 1? Bo Nix's potential debut, new look Chargers and Jim Harbaugh. A lot of ways to go.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.